This video is sponsored by Muscle Shirts, the premier online store for everything car related. Please check us out at muscleshirts.online and support us by getting one of our awesome products. We have a 15% discount for you at the checkout. Link in the description.
Connected to OBD. Caution, icy conditions.
Moving cars.
This tells you on torque. Once this car icon stops flashing, it means the ECU is connected. Okay. Turn the ignition on. Do not start it.
Connected to OBD.
It's connected now. I'm going to check the fault codes again. Okay, you got a map sensor low, which is better than before. So we're gonna erase all the codes. Clear faults. Okay, looks good. Now we're gonna fire up the car. Oh, hell yeah. Finally, the damn thing runs. Okay, guys, that was a success. Son of a bitch, I can't believe it. It would never idle and stuff like that. I'll have to show you guys how it runs, okay? I still got a check engine light though, which I don't know what that is yet. I'm gonna have to find it, but at least it idles and doesn't die, so thank God. Before it was so bad the damn thing would not idle at all. Jesus. Alright guys, today we're going to test two things on the O2 sensor. It's going to be one, the heater circuit. Number two is going to be the voltage circuit, okay? And this is off the car, alright? Different from the test that's on the car. That's for the 5 voltage rating and also the 12 voltage rating. That's what you do on the car, and also to test the, on off of the O2 sensor. So today we're going to put the O2 sensor on a stove. And we're going to heat it up, it needs to be 600 degrees or higher. We're going to heat it up, and then it's going to activate the, the circuit, or, activate the voltage in there, which the computer needs in order to do its switching, okay? So we're looking for the speed of the switching of the voltage on the O2 sensor. And that's where this old one has a problem. It's a very slow switch, so that's what we're going to go do right now. We're going to go test that, and I'll show you the problem with this O2 sensor. That's one of the problems. The other two problems is you got a high resistance in the heater circuit, and that's something else I'm going to show you. That's why I think this is bad, okay? Okay, I'm going to show you the color coding on this O2 sensor for the Hyundai car, okay? The two white ones are your heater circuit, okay? And the gray one is your ground, and the black one is your signal wire, okay? So we're going to hook this meter here, we're going to hook it to the ground. Where's it at? The ground and the signal wire, which is gray and black, all right? And then I'm going to show you, it produces a voltage, okay? This is basically a device that produces a small voltage if you heat it, similar to a thermocouple, okay? So I'm going to show you how this thing is going to produce a voltage, and I think it's around 5 volts. And then if it doesn't do it at all, it's a bad sensor. If it does it too slow, which is slow to react, then it's a bad sensor as well. That's what we're going to show you here in a minute. You're going to set your meter to 20 volts because we're trying to get 5 volts out of it. All right, and I have this thing back probed to the black and back probe to the gray. All right, as soon as this thing heats up, you should be getting a reading over here. Okay, so we're going to heat this up now, and you're going to see a reading. Okay, now I'm going to show you the response time. Okay, here we go. Okay, it's off, on, off, on, off. Show you all something else. After heating this thing a long time, that's the most it'll do. It's supposed to be 0.45, not 0.045. Okay, and when you get it really hot, it will climb. But it was supposed to do this earlier, so that means this circuit is really bad. Okay, now it's getting higher. But when a car warms up, it doesn't take this long for the heater to heat up or the O2 sensor to produce voltage. Okay, so we'll see what the maximum is. Okay, it's supposed to be 0.45 to start, not 0.01. Okay, so that's after heating it for 2 minutes. It's supposed to be at this range, like practically on startup. Okay, that's what the heater circuit does for this, which is the one we're going to test now, the white wires. Okay, the heater circuit is supposed to be right at about 2.4 to 4 ohms. So we're going to set this meter to resistance to 200. Okay, and we're going to pull these out from the back probing, and we're going to test the heater wires, which remember I told you before was white. Okay, I'm going to test it here, and test it and back probe it here. Okay, and what do we get? 13.3. Did you see that? 13.3. That resistance is very high. So this heater circuit is toast. Now we got a new one today, which is right here. Test it. You see an example. As you can see, it's brand new. Still got the cover on there. Okay, we're going to back probe this too and test the resistance on it. Okay, back probe and back probe this one. Okay, 9.5. That's doable. Okay, that other one was what, 14 something? That's too high. That's the reason why it was responding too slow. So that's why I think that O2 sensor was bad. So this one should fix that. It did not get a trouble code that said O2 sensor was bad per se. It just said that the engine was going lean and you're getting misfire. So that could be a lot of problems that could cause that, and specifically the coils that would cause something like that. All right, and that's what I'm going to test today and let you guys know. I also got a new coil right here. Because one of them tested bad, and the bad one is right here. Okay, I'll show you that here in a minute. And this is the good coil here. Okay, so before I test the good coil, I'm going to test the 3 stock coils. All right, so as far as the high tension lead, it's going to be these 2. Okay, so this tension lead, you need to test this with your ohm meter, the ohm scale. Okay, the ohm scale needs to be at actually it's not high tension, it's called primary. It's going to be at 0.75 ohms. Okay, so you want to put one here, doesn't matter which side. Okay, 0.75. What do I get? 0.9, which is good. That's good. And this one here, .9 as well. And the third one, .9. Okay, now we're going to test the secondary. It's going to be 5.9 kilo ohms. Okay, so we're going to have to put this in a kilo ohm scale. So since it's 5.9, we'll put it at 20 kilo ohms. Okay, so now the secondary, you could be any one of these leads. Okay, it doesn't matter which one. And then you want to test the spark plug area where it hooks up to the spark plug. But for me to get a connection, I have to put a piece of metal there. So what do I get? 7.85. And what did we need? We needed at least 5. Alright guys, so as I was saying, I'm gonna go test the secondary. Okay, it's supposed to be 5.9 kilo ohms. And what we got here is, what does it say? 7.67. It's pretty good. At least it's got some resistance. Okay, that's coil number 1. That's good. Coil number 2. .82, which is fine. And then number 3. .84. Good. Okay, now we're gonna test the new one. This one's farm fresh, okay? So look at that reading, guys. 6.49, which is pretty darn good. That's brand new, okay? So possibly the other coils may be going bad in the future, but I still think that they're in good condition at this time. Now I want to show you the bad one. Let me show you guys this. Okay, first we're going to test the primary, which is supposed to be 0.75 ohms. So I'll put this back to 200, and what do we get? .9. It's pretty good though, right? Okay, keep this thing connected. Did you all see that? Let me do that again. .9. All right. Now I'm gonna keep this thing connected, and I'm gonna go to kilo ohms again. So we'll go to 20. All right. Let me show you something. Okay, we'll put this back in there. What do I get? It's dead. See that? It's dead. Even if I put it on the other connector, that's a dead coil, folks. It's supposed to be 5.9, okay? 5.9 or so. It is dead, okay? That is a dead coil. This is the bad one. That's why I had to replace it. It had a misfire in this. I believe this is what was causing it. If I grab one of the coils over there on the pile and hook it up, put it up immediately. You're gonna get a reading of, see it right there? 7.83. All right, folks, so that's my determination, okay? That's how you test a coil off the car. And on the next video, I'm going to teach you how to test the coil on the car to determine if the electrical system on the car is good enough. Okay, so now you know how to test coils off the car and how to test the O2 sensor off the car using the heating method and also the resistance method of the heater circuit. All right, guys. Okay, folks, after we get this thing tested and installed back on the car, of course we already tested already, so we determine which is bad and which is not bad, okay? After we do that, we're gonna get the diagnostic scanner and check things out to make sure these items are talking to the computer and make sure it's running perfectly, okay? So after testing all of the sensors, I tested most of them actually, that were having to do with the fuel control and spark control of this car. And I determined that one of the coils is bad. 3 of them look like they're not going to last too long. In the future, their resistance is a little bit higher, but at least their secondary system had resistance, whereas the bad coil, it was dead, completely 0, 0, 0. Okay, folks? And the O2 sensor was also tested. As you can see, the response is too slow. We can't use it. So the new one, the response was much faster, and plus the heater circuit had a much lower resistance compared to this old one, which had a pretty high resistance. I don't know, 15 kilo ohms or something. The other one was like 7 or 8. So that's not going to heat up very quickly with a resistance that high. So once we install everything, we're going to run the diagnostic scanner and clear the codes and determine if this fixed the car. Okay. All right, guys. Now we're going to need to find out why it's running like shit.
Connected to OBD.
Okay, now we're going to do a scan. What is that? Cylinder 3 misfire, cylinder 1 misfire, and random misfire, cylinder misfire detected. What is that? I just fixed that. And pending fault. Alright. Since cylinder 1 has been replaced already, or the coil pack, I'm gonna switch it to another cylinder and see if the fault code moves. Okay, actually, where are we at now? Cylinder 3 misfire, 1 misfire, and random multiple cylinder misfire. Okay, so I'm gonna put number 1 to 4 and then 4 to 1. Let's see if it moves. But before we do that, I'm gonna clear the codes again. Good. I'm going to move cylinder 1 coil to cylinder number 4. Alright, we're going to start again and see what we get.
Connected to OBD. Caution, icy conditions.
Waiting for a trouble code now. A little bit rough, but go. Okay, now we're going to check and find out what that is. I got some crazy lady right next to me just talking to herself. I don't want her to talk to me, so I'm like kind of hiding by the car here. Okay, what do we got? C155 chassis, and cylinder number 1 misfire detected. Okay, so that's not a coil. That's not a coil issue right there. That's something else. So I'm gonna have to go and check this out, find out what it is. I'm gonna have to pull spark plug number 1 out to check that out, and then I'll get back with you. Okay, testing the camshaft position sensor, which I believe is bad. We're going to be testing here in the coil area. It's going to be pin number 2 and pin number 1. If you look closely on the sensor, I don't know if y'all guys can see it. It says pin number 1 and pin number, can you guys see that? Pin number 1 and pin number 3. Okay. Pin number 3 is to your left and pin number 1 is to your right. So that means pin number 2 would be in the middle. So we're going to be doing measurements on the pin here and the pin here, these two here, not the one on the very left, which is pin number 3. Alright? Now, according to the stats measurements, the camshaft position sensor is supposed to have 4.87 mega ohms. You all see that right here? 4.87 mega ohms right there. Okay? And we're going to do the testing right now. Set your meter to the mega ohm scale, which I have right here. It's at 20. Okay? And you're going to be checking the pin in the middle and the pin to the right. Alright? Oh, we got a 3.42 mega ohm rating. Need at least a 4.87 mega ohm in resistance. So this sensor, according to that, it's bad. Alright. Okay, now we're going to do a capacitance check. It's going to be the same. It's going to be this connection here. Not the same, but anyway. Sensor power and sensor ground. So it's going to be 1 and 2. We're not going to hook it up to the number 3 pin, okay? It's going to be pretty much the same as the ohms reading, all right? And we're going to do the capacitance. Okay, the capacitance reading is supposed to be 950 to 1.350 picofarad. All right, that's what we're going to check right now. Okay, you're going to set your multimeter to the ear, which is the capacitance reading. Okay. Doing the same thing here. Pin number 2 and pin number 1. Oops. Can y'all see that? .468 picofarad. We're just going to make sure. We're going to go to this pin here, to the outboard. Nothing. Okay, we're going to go to the middle. We're going to go check it again here. Sorry guys for the jiggly screen, but I'm holding this camera with my knees. Okay, and remember, capacitor only goes one way, one direction. Okay, so it should not work the opposite way. If it does, then it's really, really bad. Okay, you see it doesn't work either here or here. So if I put the positive here, okay, And the negative part should be in the ground area. Alright. 468. Okay. 468 picofarad. As y'all can see, 468 picofarad is well below spec for the capacitance, alright? So that's a bad cam position sensor. It explains a lot why this thing doesn't accelerate too quickly. You know what I mean? 468 picofarad. Alright, so and to show you guys again, I did it at pin number 1 and pin number 2, sensor ground and sensor power, and that is the capacitance area. So we've determined that sensor is bad. Now we're going to go check the the resistance is off and the sensor's capacitance is no go. Alright, the last place that checked my sensor did not do it the right way. Apparently they're not familiar with a capacitance on a camshaft position sensor. Okay, the next one we're going to test is the O2 sensor, which I think is bad as well. It had a high resistance rating and it did not react too good when I set it on fire using a stove. Okay, alright, we're going to be, I don't know if you guys can see this, heated oxygen sensor, bank 1 sensor 1. So that's the upstream sensor we're going to be testing. Okay, alright, it should be 4.87 mega ohms. Is that right? No, I'm sorry guys. 2.4 to 4.0 ohms at 69.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's bank 1 sensor 1. That's going to be the upstream sensor, not the downstream sensor. Upstream sensor is the one closest to the engine, and the downstream sensor is after the cap. Okay? Okay guys, please excuse the jiggly screen. I'm doing this with practically my hand tied behind my back. Alright. You're going to be back probing the signal wires. Okay, the signal wires are going to be, I'm sorry, let me correct that. You're going to be back probing the heater wires, okay, because it is a type of coil. Both of them, there's going to be 2 on this 4-wire sensor for the Hyundai, okay? You're going to be back probing both. Doesn't matter which goes where, the orientation. Okay, you might want to set your meter to, what you call that? Your capacitance over here, leave it there. And leave it on the audible notification or your beep, okay? Because this will tell you if the connection has continuity, okay? You just back probe it like that, and you hear it beeping, that means you know you got a good connection. Now you set this thing to ohms, okay? Which is pretty much 20,000 ohms would be fine. Okay, you remember before the resistance should be 2.4 to 4.0 ohms, right? Maybe we better go to 200. Okay, set this thing to 200. It's supposed to be 2.4 to 4.0, and our resistance is 9.3. Can you guys see that? 9.3 ohms. Just to double check, I'm gonna pull one out and back probe it again. What do we get? 9.5 ohms. Okay, the resistance on this heater is too high, which means this O2 sensor is bad as well. My God, the overheating on this engine has destroyed a lot of components. It's an expensive repair. Heads, gasket, and several sensors. Son of a beast. Alright, so now that we know O2 sensor and the camshaft position sensor are both bad. They failed the test. So now we know we're going to replace those 2 items. Alright guys, today we're going to finish putting all these parts that I just got for the car. The coil and also the O2 sensor. Okay, so I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so the 4 coils we're going to replace are going to be here, and the O2 sensor, can you guys see it? It's over here to the side right there, okay? We're going to replace those today. And then clear the trouble codes and cross your fingers. Let's hope that fixes the problem with this car. But first, before we do any of this, we're going to go do some testing of the circuit for the coil to make sure that all of them is producing the correct voltage, and also for the O2 sensor to make sure that's correct on the voltage. Alright, which is actually right here. Okay, the other one it tests good, so we just plug this in. That's for the after the cat right here. This is before the cat. Okay, we're gonna test for 12 volts battery and also 5 volt signal. Okay, and then we're gonna identify the ground and everything else that goes with it. Okay, as you guys know, these O2 sensors come factory with anti-seize compound. And that's what that is, okay? Keeps it from seizing in the exhaust area. So we're going to put that on. You're going to need a special socket to install that with, which is this. It's got a little cut in it like that. And we're going to install it like this. First, we're going to need to find our ground. Turn on the ignition, but do not start the car. You're going to hear a lot of clicking and stuff like that. Don't freak out. Okay. 8.44, that's the signal wire. Okay, so the ground wire is right there at negative. Okay, you got 11.39, which is correct. Signal wire is 0.43. You get that? Signal wire right here is 0.43, which is good. 11.37 is the 12 volt battery, which is good. This is good to go. So now we just turn off the ignition first and plug it in. Do not plug it in with the ignition on. You might cause a computer spike, okay? So turn the ignition off and then plug it in. Okay, now you plug it in. Okay, now we're going to install the ignition coils and also test the voltage on that too. Okay, here's the new one that we got. We're going to put on the number 1 just to be sure we get good ignition. See how tiny this is? It's shorter than my finger. Super 1/4 inch ratchet, so that it's impossible to over tighten it because it's so tiny. That's why I use this. Okay, again we're going to test the voltage and the signal. Okay, so you need to turn your ignition on. Set your meter to 20 volts. Turn the ignition on. check to see if we have current. Number 1 cylinder. Okay, it's wrong way because it went negative. It's better to back probe it to get a better connection. I don't recommend it with this. Need a back probe to do that. Okay. It's not reading. Why is it not reading? Got a reading there. Got a reading there. Got a reading there. And we got a reading there. Okay. So now we're going to plug this thing in and clear the codes and see if she will start and run, alright? Oh, I think I know what it is. I got vacuum hose disconnected. Right here, one. Right here is the other one. Look at that. Okay, let me restart this thing again. Rule of thumb, guys. Whenever you hear a loud hissing, it usually means a vacuum leak. Dummy. Right here and over here. Jesus Christ. You idiot. Alright, let's try that again.
Connected to OBD. Caution, icy conditions.
A little bit rough, but it idles on its own and I could at least do a video of it. So I'm gonna have to check the trouble code and find out what's causing this. But at least it runs great. Well, it runs better than it was before. Well, it's saying that now 1, 2, and 3 are misfiring. I did switch the number 1 to number 4, and the 4 is not listed here. That tells me the coils are bad, so I got to get 3 more coils. Damn it, I thought I can get away with 1, but I guess not. So I'm getting close, so I'm gonna have to go get 3 more coils now.
ABG cars.